Today's topic is promoting resident identity. We're going to look at the assessment process, organizing an activity, and motivating resident participation. I'd like to talk to you about the initial assessment process. It's a valuable tool that will help you match up activities in a facility with the residents today. Now, today, that's what I want to talk about, who that resident is today. That's the person we need to get to know. Building relationships with the residents we have today. Now, that assessment process begins the moment they step foot in our facility. When they come to live in our facility, they come with a lot of challenges sometimes in life. They may have had a condition, a change of condition that has affected their ability to care for themselves. Or they may have had something happen in their life and now they can no longer live on their own in the community. And now they depend on us. They depend on us for care and supervision, but also, and I don't want us to get away from that, they depend on us for their psychosocial well-being as well. When a resident first comes into the facility, I want to do all my homework, okay? I want to go to the chart and fill out as much information as I can. I want to get to know the behind the scenes of this person. I'm going to touch base with family members. I'm going to listen carefully when they're talking to me. I'm going to talk to other staff members. I'm going to listen carefully and use as much information as I can to best understand the resident and their perspective on what's going on in their life today. Now, why would you want to take the time to fill out an initial, specifically an activity form, specifically for every resident in your facility? Now, a new staff member is going to come into a facility and they're going to want to know about the residents in the facility today. Well, we have all the diagnosis and their medications and where they came from and who they are today, but this activity assessment form will give you a good picture about the psychosocial profile of a resident. My first area of resources is the chart. The second is staff. And the third is family. But my best tool of assessment is observation. And that is by just watching that resident in the facility. My first encounter with a resident may just be a brief smile, okay, or just a wave down the hall. You see, they're new. They just moved into your facility and they're not sure about what's going on in the facility. And so what I want to do is make sure that they're comfortable. I don't want to rush in there and take my little form out in front of them and say, you know, I have to fill out this form now. I need more information about you. They've just gone through that with the initial assessment. I want to make sure that it's a nice, comfortable relationship. What I'm looking for is a common thread of interest. And it may come out just in conversation. It may be, I'm not sitting down with a form. I'm not saying, you know, do you like to watch TV? Do you like to play bingo? Do you like to, I don't want to do that. I walk in and I say, you know, how are you doing today? You know, I was enjoying the outdoors. Would you like to go for a walk? And find out, oh no, I don't like the outdoors, or oh yes, I love the outdoors. There are lots of bits and pieces of information that you may be able to gather from a simple conversation with your residents. When I do initial activity assessments, I'm looking for and I'm listening for information from the individual, the staff, and the family. I must first understand that a family may give you information, they may be contributing information that's not exactly accurate today. For the individual we're working with today may be very different than the individual that they knew as they were a child or growing up or even into their early adulthood. And when we have to think about our residents, I think that's what we need to consider. Whether or not we're looking at the individual today, finding something, some way to link a relationship up with that resident. Now, just sitting down and talking with the resident, we may discover that we both perhaps like fishing or gardening, or we both like to read books, or or maybe cook in a kitchen. And that's a common thread of interest. I then take that information, and every encounter I have, I take that information and I add it to the activity assessment form. And I'm arming myself with evidence to be able to start to bridge that relationship. I may be linking that relationship up from me, the activity director, to a caregiver that I know has the same area of interest. I know that there was a caregiver, I overheard her talking about her geraniums and how she was going to cut back her geraniums. And as an interested activity person, I asked her, what are you going to do with those clippings? And she said, oh, I just throw them away. So I reminded her, you know, Laura, her room is just outside that new patio and there's not much color. Do you think you could bring those in? We could do a planting outside Laura's window. And she agreed, brought those geraniums in, and we had a wonderful garden project. Fortunately, that caregiver was able to arrange for time to come out to that garden project and actually help the residents plant geraniums in the new courtyard. And so you can see how just evidence, information, I'm constantly gathering information that will help be beneficial to link up relationships and programming. I'd like to suggest that you target the residents at risk. At risk for what? At risk for social isolation. If a resident has just moved into your facility and they've brought with them a few of their personal items, think about it. These are the only things they're familiar with. Everything else is new. So why wouldn't you want to stay in your room with your things that were familiar? And this is where the challenges first begin, especially in a large setting. It's tough. Resident feels insecure. Sometimes the transition from moving into a facility, getting comfortable with my room and getting comfortable with my belongings can take a little longer in a large setting than it would in a small setting. But not to say that it wouldn't go the other way as well. It depends on the individual. Remember, their past and present social patterns are going to be an influence on this. There are folks who may just move into your facility and jump out there and say, hey, what do you got going on? Is there anything in your, let me look at your activity calendar and find a place for me to fit in. But that's going to be few and far between. It's going to require all staff to be there to encourage and to assist residents to activities. Different reasons that residents might be isolating themselves from being involved within the community in activities or interacting with their peers. They may have just had a change of condition that they're struggling with. They may be facing issues or episodes related to depression because of the new move. The transfer trauma alone may take weeks or months for a resident to get used to. If I see a resident come into a facility and right away they take off and they're making relationships, this is not the resident I'm concerned about. Right away they're getting active and involved in the facility. They're signing up for outings and they're smiling and walking up and down and they're socializing in the dining room. This is not the resident I'm concerned about. The resident I'm concerned about is the one who's isolating themselves in the room. This resident is at risk, I think, what I call the big D. They're at risk for depression, and they can easily move into that. The one who's got to be in their room for certain programs on the television, the one who's hesitant to sit with their friends in the dining room, or hesitant to join programs and get involved with people in the community. These are the residents, I think, that are at risk. Now, these are going to be the toughest ones to get to know, too. The other ones, you'd be lucky they don't follow you around all day. and that's all good, but the ones I want to target are the ones who are avoiding me. The avoidance behavior alone is telling me that this person might be at risk. And this is the person I need to make sure to reach out to. Strategies for interviewing a resident. I think we need to remember it's about initiating conversations. It's about starting relationships. Initiating conversations, searching for a common thread, and then linking those interests, those activity interests, to something that's going on in the facility. And then asking for permission, receiving permission to see that person again. Maybe an invitation to come back. You may continue in a one-on-one relationship with this resident for several weeks before they're actually, if they are, able to move out into the facility. It's critical. You know, there are residents out there today, they have a relationship. Their best relationship is with the housekeeper or the wait staff who comes in and greets them every day as they go in for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It might be the maintenance worker as they're out for their daily walk. Maybe that's the only activity they're doing. They're out for their daily walk, and they run into that maintenance worker every day, same place, same time. And that's a wonderful relationship. We want to place value on those relationships and encourage them as often as possible. What I'd like to do is give you an opportunity to get involved with each other. I'd like you to select a partner. You're going to work in pairs. What I'd like you to do is first decide who's going to be the caregiver and who's going to be the resident. Now, a resident, I'd like you to take your age and add 46 years to it. That'll be the year, the age that we're working with today, 46 years from now. So how old will you be 46 years from now? That's a good question. Okay, and then I'd like you, in your in-service packet, I'd like you to select a resident profile, and it'll give you a basic understanding of the conditions that you're faced with today. And then the rest of the information you're going to be able to fill in yourself. Now, caregiver, you're doing the interview. Now remember, you don't have the initial assessment form with you, okay? That isn't what I want you to do. What I want you to do is have a general conversation. You walk in and you meet this resident. So, hi, I'm Maria. How are you today? I wonder if I might have a moment of your time. And with a smile, ask for an invitation to sit down and visit with that resident. Okay? Gather as much information as you can without filling out a form right in front of them. I want you to have a casual conversation. Take 5 or 10 minutes and have a conversation with this person. Then go back to your assessment form and fill out as much as you can, all the things that you learned about your resident today. Now remember, your assignment for this project is to gather as much information to link a resident's interests and abilities to an activity that's going on in your facility. Okay, take this opportunity to interview your resident, pause the video, and as soon as you're ready, we'll come back. Now that you know a little bit about your resident, I'd like to talk to you about time available for activities. There are 3 pivotal points in a day that every resident looks forward to, and that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now you have a worksheet in your in-service packet, but I'd like you to save that for a minute. I don't want you to work on that one for a minute. Let's just talk about what we have going on up here. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are the 3 pivotal points in a resident's day. In addition to breakfast, lunch, and dinner, a resident spends time doing personal care. Personal care usually surrounds each meal period. Okay. What we're looking for here, how many windows of opportunity are available for activities? Now, I'm going to show you the maximum number of windows in a day in a facility. Now we know that a resident has time committed already for the meals and the personal care. How much time is actually left? There are approximately 1 or 2 windows of opportunity. Now a window is equal to 1 hour. I'm going to go 1 hour blocks. So there might be 2 hours between breakfast and lunch. And again, after lunch, there might be 2 windows of opportunity available for residents to participate in activities. And then after dinner, there might be 2, and for some residents, 3 windows of opportunity. There's one more, and oftentimes we don't think about it, but it's after personal care and before breakfast. This is the total number of windows available for residents to participate in activities. Now, let's think about this. If dinner is served at 5, then this might be okay, 2 windows. But if dinner isn't served until 6 o'clock, you may very well have 1 more window up here. Okay? So each one of you, you're going to figure this out based on your facility type. Now let's say this is a small 6-bed facility. There is no way residents are going to be able to, and staff are going to be available to do activities for residents in that facility. Let's look at what might be available for residents in that type facility, in a small 6-bed facility. It makes sense. This is a better picture of what might be available to residents in a 6-bed facility because of the staffing requirements. It's imperative that that universal worker, every caregiver, be involved in doing. Now after, let's say you have 2 caregivers on staff. We've got their personal care done, we've got up, we've served breakfast, we're cleaning up, doing personal care again, and we're taking care of the responsibilities we had in our facility. Maybe you were in charge of kitchen help, and now it's time to turn around and do an activity with your resident. How are you going to find time to do that with your residents? I think big answer to that question right there is to incorporate the activities of daily living into activities, opportunities for your residents to get involved. In a larger facility, they're going to have an activity staff, and it's not going to be hard to fill in the rest of these windows. Now, this is not every day of the week. It might be 3 days a week we run evening programs, and the other 2 days we run day programs.